John the Beloved, one of Jesus's closest disciples. He became a pillar in the early church. He ended up writing 3 letters, the Gospel of John and the book of Revelation. John said, "We love because he first loved us." And this is the essence of hospitality. It is to love others first. This quality is essential for godly leadership, and we must strive to become the kind of men who do not wait for invitations but are proactive in extending them. If you have been following along, we recently concluded a 3-part section on the man of God and his household. And now we begin a 6-part section on the man of God and his relationships. And it begins with hospitality, which is a brotherly love for others. Hospitality is crucial because a hospitable person sets the culture and the tone, which is necessary for effective leadership. And if you are managing your home well and loving your wife and leading your children, your home becomes a witness. Opening your doors to your neighbors and strangers becomes a way for others to see and to taste the kingdom of God. And so, gentlemen, we must heed John's word and learn from Christ. We must love first. That's what hospitality does. Guys, don't tune out. This really is for us. Hospitality is not entertaining guests on the strength and affections of your family. You have to lead and you have to love first. This is the Kavod Family Podcast, the making of a godly man, hospitable. Well, hello and welcome to the Kavod Family Podcast. My name is Casey Wilson. We have Travis Shook, Justin Bohner, Danny Antoine. How are you, gentlemen?
Good. He's slowly crescendoed
the build.
Yeah, Travis.
Today we're talking about hospitality, and you might think this is for the ladies, but it's not, gentlemen. It's for you. It really is. If you are going to lead well, you're going to have to learn how to love and love not just your family, not just your wife, but others outside of your fold. And so, gentlemen, that's what we're going to talk about, hospitality. And I would say, by and large, all of you have been hospitable to me in my life. Thank you. Thank you very much.
That's awesome.
It is a quality and a trait that I think is it's central to Christians, to believers. If you're in a fuddy-duddy, an old prude, someone who hates people and doesn't want to be around them, an introvert, that kind of person, I think that when the Spirit of God gets a hold of you, he causes you to love people in a way to where that kind of opens up and you begin to realize, you know what, I need to process with people and I need to heal with people and I need to talk with people. And I need to feast with people and enjoy and eat and love. And I think it just changes you in such a way that you become lovers of people. And so I've always, I know that in the past people have said, I'm an introvert, I'm an extrovert. I think the Bible's clear. We need to learn to love the Lord your God and love your neighbor as yourself.
Mm-hmm.
To love the Lord your God, that tends to take on a form of maybe looking like an introvert. Is that fair? I mean, to get alone in your Bible, to pray, to go on walks, to meditate on the scriptures, it's internal that you're processing.
Mm-hmm.
Is that fair?
Yeah.
And when you begin to love on others, that's external. And so I think there's people that are just naturally more gifted at loving others and some that are more gifted at being in tune with the Lord, and it causes them to look like introverts or extroverts. That's my take on it.
And it's interesting, too, what more people are comfortable with. Like, some people would rather be extrovert because that is their identity worth value.
Yeah.
Talking, but alone scares the mess out of them. They don't want to go there. Yes. And other people love the alone and don't want to deal with people. So it is interesting what your comfort zone is shows the lack in the other area.
Yes.
Like, for me, I'm around people all day, and I'll say that I don't want to say I struggle with hospitality. I love when people come over. I love going to it, but like I love going home and being with my 4 and like calling it a night. So when Lid's like, we're gonna go do this, I'm like it says, do it without grumbling. I'm like, okay. But I love it when I do it, and I see the value in it, and I, like just the different age groups and wisdom and someone younger, what they're going through. Like I see God's value in it, but the tendency for me with being with people all day is whenever I'm off, my default is to be off to a fault.
Yeah.
To a fault.
Have you met many good leaders that are not hospitable?
to be honest, I haven't met many leaders who are hospitable, good or bad.
Really?
Like, honestly, you got to think like military, it was straight, like, it was a hard line between your commanding officer and everybody else. And it kind of helped them lead in some ways, you know, like even Jocko said that, like there's two styles. You can be like the dictator, or you can be the one that it's harder to do, that they love, and you get more done that way, but it's harder because that line can be blurred.
Yeah.
So almost everything I saw was, you're here, I'm here, I'll take care of you. But like, there's a hard line. So no, I haven't seen a lot of it, in all honesty.
Well, I think as a Christian, I think you can't really say that you're following Christ and be an introvert. And there's a reason for that, because we all change, or there should be a change that takes place when you give your life to Christ. And if you end up, like the Bible says, having the mind of Christ, then that means you're a follower of Christ, so you do what he did. Now, was Christ an introvert? Absolutely not. But yet, if we're inheriting him and he lives inside of us, that becomes an impossibility at that point. You know what I'm saying? And then you talk about like being gifted to love. I think there are a lot of people that are running around who don't realize that it's already within them, because they won't step out of that comfort zone.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? So there's a lot of this that when it comes to being hospitable, you don't know, you know, even like, for example, I'll take myself. I've considered myself very much an introvert, you know, a long time ago. By the time I met my wife, the first time she came to my place, she was like, you know, we should have some people over. And I'm like, no, because to that point, it's like, it's my cave. You know, like, this is my space.
Yeah.
You know, I don't want nobody invading my space, you know. And now it went from that to now I live my life for Christ. And it's like my house is like a revolving door. Yeah. So there was a change that took place. My preference would have been for me to just be in my little cave by myself at the time. But when Christ entered in, it was just like, no, that's not Christ. Imagine if he took that attitude. That's probably the best way to put that. Imagine Jesus looking at the world and having an introvert attitude towards the world.
Yeah.
There's no salvation at that point.
I mean, you look at his normal day, though. He rose before everybody and spent time with God.
There's a balance in both.
Yeah, and then all day he was...
Yeah, he was seeking to get away with the Lord, and yet, you know, the compassion within him, right? I mean, Paul, isn't it Paul that puts it, I'm a bondservant to all? And so there's this obligation and duty that you begin to feel for the people around you, to where you can't just recluse and say, I'm done, hands off, step away. Like, there's just this obligation to love. I mean, expound on that, because it's not an obligation. That's a burden, right? Like the burden is a burden to love. That's the blessing, is it? The burden in it is a beautiful thing.
In your own strength, if you're trying to work this out, it is very taxing and very much so a burden in your own strength.
Yeah.
But if you have his eyes and his heart behind it, you look forward to it. You start to seek it. But there's two sides of that real quick. I can tell whenever I'm like, Travis is trying to do the check marks, and I'm like, and you can just feel it. It's different, you know? And then when you feel compelled and God highlights someone, then you're like, let's have them over. Like, when are they coming over?
Right. We've all been to those events where the wife is being hospitable and she's set out everything and talking and socializing, and the husband's sitting in the other room grumbling, watching a football game. He's not the one being hospitable, right?
Yeah, I think apart from Christ, you're confined to your natural inclinations.
That's good.
Apart from Christ, if I am personally an extrovert, and you know,
you feed off
talking about this, my battery is recharged with people. My battery drains when I'm alone. Some people are the other way. They got to get alone to get recharged. They get overstimulated and stuff. I'm like maximum people. You know, that's kind of how I'm wired. But apart from Christ, you're kind of bound to that. Because, I mean, with Christ, that's what we're talking about. With him, I think that's what's so impactful about this idea of hospitality is he spent majority of his life with people. But he took the necessary time to spend alone with the Lord, to work on that internal life, so that he could live in two places at once all the time. So he was always an extrovert because he was always with people, but he was also always with the Father.
He was never drained.
Internally. Like he was with people and with the Father at the same time all the time. He only opened his mouth when he felt the Father had given him something to say. You know, like, so he learned to live here habitually, permanently, while living here, and I think that's what makes hospitality so impactful. Is it's an obedient listening to God and then acting in a loving way to others on behalf of God, right? Like, that's what's happening when you reach out and pull people in, right? It's an obedient love on behalf of God.
Yeah, I mean, if you think about it, yes, Jesus removed himself, but even in that, he never removed himself to just go be alone. He was still with someone, with the Father.
Oh, yeah.
Why?
Yeah.
Because we were created for relationship, if you think about that. And, you know, a lot of times, especially in today's world, it's more natural to not have relationships sometimes, or depth of relationship. You know what I'm saying? But I think when you do that, it causes people to be able to hide. You know, and that's not what God is wanting for all of us. You miss out on a lot at that point.
Let's talk about that. How do you have a revolving door in your house and not get to a point where you're just surface level with people? How do you get to a point where you have, I mean, some might say it's the strength or the energy or the desire, whatever, but to the point where when people come in the house, you're not just staying surface level. You're willing to love them, process with them, listen to them, communicate with them.
So when God speaks of us in the Bible, he says, beloved, right? So when I look at that word, what I see in that word, it says, be loved. That means be loved by the Father. And when you're being loved by the Father, it's impossible not to project that love out, you know, from you. He expects us to love one another. But notice that he gave us a sequence for that.
Yeah.
God loves the Father loves the Son very intensely.
Yeah.
Now, the Son loves us with the same intensity that the Father loves, right? And they expect for us to love each other with the same intensity that the Son loves us. So there's no way around it. Like, for you to be infused with God's love, that means you understand what it means like to receive love. And when you understand what it means to receive love, it compels you to go out there and love everyone. It's got to compel you, because it's like, if not, it's very selfish. That's you saying, gimme, 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 and there's never an output at that point. So to me, it's got to be natural. So for my house, for it to be a revolving door, if I learn to see people through God's eyes, I can't help but want them there. If I see them just through natural eyes, I'm going to see everything. I'm going to see personality conflict. I'm going to see I'm too busy. I'm going to see all kinds of stuff that has nothing to do with being a son. You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So for my wife and I, it's learning how to love people basically the way that he loves us all the time. When does God take a break from loving us?
Yeah, that doesn't happen.
Exactly. So if he lives inside of me, I shouldn't be taking a break from loving others either.
So you're saying a healthy fruit of a healthy relationship with God is, I'm going to end up loving people.
I think so. And if you look at that changes your mental capacity. So a lot of things that you see going on right now in society with mental health, for example,
Okay.
you know, we're trying to treat something with medication at times, when really it's just somebody who needs somebody to just grab a hold of them.
Like your friend.
Yeah, like just somebody who, just grab a hold of them. You see what I'm saying? So we're using all this other stuff, and I feel like sometimes the father's just sitting up there like, man,
Just
y'all
talk to
miss it. You guys are missing it. Like, just be there.
Yeah.
Love each other. You know what I mean? And I'm not speaking like from a theory side. I'm speaking of what I've gotten to see in people's lives myself over and over again, not just once, but it's over and over again. So it shows me like his word is true, because it's not just reading it. I'm experiencing it live every day. And the more I experience it, the more hungry it makes me. The more my wife experiences, the more hungry it makes her, because it's like you see what's happening there. And I feel drained only when I just kind of go back to the flesh. But if I'm really staying communicating with the Father, he strengthens me every moment for everything that I need. Yeah. I think it's powerful.
We got, we're coaching soccer right now, and we got one little boy on the team, and he's got a house full of ladies, and you can see it the moment he shows up with the boys. He's a really good soccer player, like he really is, but all he wants to do is just play.
Play with the boys.
And so, like, he'll come off, we'll pull him off, we'll put him in, he'll run around, he'll come off, and then he just wants to hang out, or he'll get on my back on the sidelines and just be on my shoulders, and he's like, no, I'm good, coach, I just want to hang out here with you. That's awesome. And there's this point where you can see the young man is just desperate for relationship.
Yeah.
Does that make sense?
Absolutely.
He's just wanting it. I mean, he plays soccer really well, but what he's wanting is just that human to human, guy to guy interaction, wrestle with the boys on the grass.
And I think that's
Who cares
amazing.
if we win or lose type thing.
But it's cool. What's cool is that he has an outlet.
Yeah.
Like, so if he comes with you, it's like it's there. So imagine him not having that. He's gonna be like a loose cannon. It's estrogen overload, you know.
Well, so the realistic, I mean, the picture in the Bible, everything in life is material, real, and also symbolic of spiritual realities all the time. Yeah. You know, the spiritual is more real than the physical.
And yet the physical is always revealing.
Yeah. And it shouldn't be disregarded. That's that Gnostic kind of danger that everyone falls into. But the house, the home, you know, because that's really what he's talking about. Sometimes we can over spiritualize things, and what Paul's talking about here is someone who's willing to open up their home to a stranger in love. That's what he's talking about. But the point of it is that the home is like a picture of life. A table is a picture of relationship. A broken bread is a picture of intimacy. I mean, Paul says to the person to kick him out of the church in 1 Corinthians, don't even eat with such a one. Right. What does that mean? Like, what do you mean? That means don't have relationship with them at the most intimate you can be apart from marital intimacy. Because that, when you look at that word hospitality, hospitable, the word philoxenos, philoxenia, philozeno. Xenos means stranger. Philo means brotherly love. The city of brotherly love, Philadelphia, Phil. That's where we get that from. There's eros, which is the Greek word for erotic marital love. There's agape, that godly love, unconditional love, and then there's philo, which is the brotherly love. You remember the famous passage in John 21. Do you love me? Do you agape me? I phileo you. That back and forth exchange. And so this is talking about a brotherly kindred love of people who you don't have that deep relationship with.
They're not family. They're not.
Yeah. And so the picture here that Paul's trying to get to is that the kind of man who's a mature man that looks like Jesus is the kind of man who opens up himself and his family's hearts to people who they might not get anything back from, right? That this isn't a matter of what is this going to do for me? It's a matter of the love of Christ compels me. The Christ in me compels me to open up my life, my time, my resources, my emotion, my energy, my mental capacity to you for the sake of showing you the love of Christ. I mean, that's the whole Bible. God creates man and woman to be out of hospitality. He says, you don't exist. I'm going to make you exist so that you can hang out with me because I'm pretty cool once you get to know me. They immediately sin, and the whole Bible is God doing what he must do in light of sin in an effort to bring them back into a hospitable relationship with God. They should have died on the spot, but yet he made a way for them to be made right. And then Hebrews, Christ dies, and what happens? The front door of the house is ripped in half, top to bottom, so that now, with confidence, we can draw near to the throne of grace, that we may receive mercy and find grace to help in time of need. Now, God, in the most hospitable thing you could ever do, is Christ died, right? He died. For Christ also suffered for sins once for all, the just for the unjust, that he might bring us to God, right. 1 Peter says. What is that? That's hospitality, right? That's God going out of his way to open up his world, which is the whole world, and bring us into relationship with him, right? For those who might not even respond, right? Like there's all these pictures, but that's this macro biblical picture that when Paul says, if you're a Christian and you're a man, you're a mature man, you will be like Christ, because that's what Christ did. Mm-hmm. What did he do all the time? Hey, you're a prostitute. Let's have dinner together. Yeah. Go get your other prostitute friends. Zacchaeus, come down. I'm coming over for dinner. Right? Like what did the Pharisees hate him for in the beginning? He's eating with prostitutes and tax collectors. right? Like it's not because they ate the wrong food; it's because they were the wrong kind of people. But
Because
it
he was
was
being hospitable with those outside.
he was doing
Yeah.
that intimate thing with them. But what was that doing? That was evangelism. You think he was just sitting down going, "Let me tell you, John 3:16, God so loved the world, he sent me." No, he sat and ate with them and did this and made eye contact with them and loved them. And what happened? They started following him around. And we think evangelism is, hit the street corner with the sign and start yelling.
I was literally about to
When
say
it's
that.
like, seems like Jesus's main method was just being with people.
So what do you think it is? What are the things that keep men specifically from, because I think women are a little more inclined to be hospitable in their nature. For men, is it shame? Is it the embarrassment of their own house, their own castle, their value, their worth, who they are, their own confidence in themselves in order to be able to open up their front door and say, come in? Like, what is it that keeps men from just doing that more often?
I think a large part of it is the inability to communicate. It's uncomfortable.
So communication, big.
Yeah, I think it's huge.
I don't want to talk. I don't want to communicate.
They are hospitable.
You're saying men are.
If your wife, if this hypothetical wife said, "Hey, honey, I'm going to take the kids shopping on Saturday. There's a big game on. Invite all your friends over. The fridge is full of beer. I got you some wings. All you got to do is cook them." That'd be the most hospitable mofo you've ever seen in your life. You know what I mean? Like that. It would be like everybody would be, right?
Right.
No,
so what you're saying is men are.
Hey, mi casa es su casa, right? No. Men
Got it
are.
all, fellas. Let's go.
Men cave on hospitality when it's inconvenient.
Yes.
And it's always inconvenient to invite some people over that you don't know real well, right? Like, that's always going to be inconvenient unless the Christ in you is compelling you to love them in a Christ-like way,
That's a
right?
good point.
Good. So
You
this
said
is
you give him that setup, he'll be hospitable all
Oh,
day.
yeah. Anytime, 3 nights a week. You know what I mean?
so
That's good.
this is far more about our willingness
Yeah.
to just to be comfortable with a person that we're not comfortable with, because that's what it is. It's a foreigner. It's an alien, right? This is going to your neighbor and knocking on his door and being friendly with him before he comes and knocks on yours. This is reaching out to the person you see walking down the street, or the person that comes up to you in town when you're shopping that wants to be friendly, and you just cold shoulder them rather than engage and actually have a conversation with them.
So how do you do it when you have 7 kids and 17 sports?
Oh gosh, I think it's easier. It's easier. It's far easier. The hardest person to be hospitable, I think, is the individual. And so,
Yeah, single guy. or
the
something.
single guy, it really is. He just, you slowly die. The more you add to your fold, you're just dying. I have no life. I'm just an outsource, right? I just give and give and give, and those monsters just take all day long. And so I think as you get married, a little bit dies. As you begin to have kids, more dies and more dies and more dies. But it's not just a death; it's life.
What's
it
dying?
really is life giving. What's dying is your own self. It's that tendency to say, I need this, I need me, I need mine.
I deserve.
And you start to serve, you start to love. So when you come home, you're processing, okay, what does the kid need? And how do we get food ready? And how do we get this together? And what do they need for that? You're processing love rather than just self-interest.
Self.
Yeah.
So self is dying.
Yeah, but people cause that, and it's a good thing. I mean, that's what brought about Christ's great sacrifice, his love for the Father, but also his love for those that were lost, right? It was a desire that caused him to do that.
So I feel like we've expressed the value in it. Let's start talking how we do it. You get home 5:30. You're done coaching at like 7:30. You got little kids, so you're bathing and putting in bed. How are you guys functioning, having people over, loving on them, while still, like, what I had to learn, and I'm not going to go off on me real quick, but like, while you're hosting, you can't just ignore your 7, because that's part of life, right? So how do you host and love and find time and still parent and still do bad? How do you do all that?
I'll start, and then you guys can chime in. I think the biggest thing was me just having to die to my own self. And so this is what I mean. look, I had my own hobbies. I had my own pleasures, the things that I loved. I grew up racing dirt bikes, got married or met Erica. Erica was like, I want to learn how to ride. And so racing died, and it was, this is the woman I'm going to marry. I'm going to teach her, and we're going to begin to spend time together. And there's slow death away from me, mine. Like we all think that we're just built to become the apex of whatever hobby we have. And the truth is we're just not that good, and we won't make it. And so you just enjoy what you can. And so, you know, I rode with her and we enjoyed, and then a little more died off and we got kids. And so I get to go ride a bike when my kids want to ride a bike. I get to go fishing when my kids want to fish. I get to go play soccer and basketball and football because they want to do it. And there's very little me. And so what you fall in love with is being a father. That's what a father is just someone who's responsible for that situation.
But is that life dictated? Is that a child-centric life? Do you know what I'm talking about? Because there's a danger. The danger is you won't be hospitable because you'll hear what he's saying and misinterpret what he's saying, and you'll allow what your kids want to do to dictate your schedule, and you won't have time to welcome people into your home.
No,
what's the difference there between the
kids
child-centric culture and
I think
family-centric?
That's the thing. When you're buying into someone else's, when you're buying into people. So look, when I go coach soccer, it's not just I'm going to get this done, then I run out the door to go do what I want. And it's also not just about my kids. I'm talking to parents while I'm there. I'm talking to the kids. I'm engaging with the other teams. And so you're ridding yourself of self, so that way your energy and your eyes and your mind, it goes towards something else. That's all I'm saying. And so when I get home, you know, look, it's been a long time. I maybe get to sit down and watch a couple of football games a year, a couple of motorcycle races a year. I don't get to do the things I selfishly would want to do as often as I like, but that's fine. I get to do a lot of things that are life-giving, but I've just kind of let go of those so that way I have time for other things. Does that make sense?
Yeah.
And I think that's the biggest thing that has to die. It's that, okay, it's as simple as this. You guys all know the pool. Your wife wants to send you to the grocery store, and there's a little bit of you that's like, great, this is going to be solo time. I'll just drive. I can process. And then your kid goes, I want to go. And that desire in you of like, I wanted me time, right? And that's what has to die at the maximal level in everything. It just dies off to the point where you get to the place where you go, you know what? If I ever get to own a boat, it's not just for me. It's for every friend of mine that wanted to go fish and every buddy that never got to go fish. And everything that you have is a means to loving others. I think Christ, there was nothing he had that was just his. I mean, think about that. There was nothing he had that was just me, mine, and like you know your kids, they all have like, this is my space, my desk, no one touch it, no one look at it, no one breathe on it. Christ never had that. And I think that the more we die off, the more those layers shed, the more you tend to love others.
So how do you have people over when you're done at 7:30 at night?
Well, first thing I do is I realize what my wife's love language is. She loves people, loves to, host for the grandkids to come over. And it took me a little bit in the beginning of the marriage to realize that, because that's what she truly loves. And what made me understand that, one day I asked her, I said, what hobbies do you have? Because I know I got a ton of hobbies, right? She looks at me, she goes, the grandkids. I said, that's not what I'm talking about. I said, what hobbies do you have? And she goes, the grandkids. And she kept saying that. I'm like, is she not listening to me right now? And I realized, no, what she's saying is, that's what she loves. You like to go out and shoot. She loves to spend time with the grandkids. She loves to spend time with people. Yeah. But at the same time, when somebody comes over, I'm actually ministering to my wife at the same time, because it's her heart's desire. If I have a long day and I recognize that I might have a long day at my job, but that wasn't my first job. My first job is at home. And when I understand that, she like, listen, if anybody wants to do anything with me, call my wife. She's got the calendar, right? And so there be times I'm on my way home, I'm calling her, just to tell her, I'm out, I'm on my way home. She's let me know, well, we have so-and-so over. Well, Inside, I might be like, holy cow, man, I've been going since 4:00 this morning. I just need to get in my room and unplug and just, but then I got to remind myself, no, you don't understand. You've not seen her all day.
Yeah.
And this is something that she wanted. So my attitude changes in that little 5-minute drive from the karate school to the house. And by the time I get there, you got to give them maximum energy because it's like, how do I look going to the karate school, giving everybody else maximum energy? And I come home and I'm a milk dud.
And I give you nothing.
Good. It's not going to work. So I minister to my wife.
That works for you,
in
Casey.
that.
Yeah, I like that.
It ministers to my wife when we have people over because she loves it. But I, in turn, I love people as well. So when somebody calls us, it's usually, unfortunately, it's a lot of times because something went south really bad and they just need somebody there. And there's never a convenient time for that. There's never, if I've learned anything in ministering to people, it is never about convenience. Nothing happens at a time where it's a good time for this to be.
And you learn that normally by parenting. Like,
actually, you're good.
Very rarely does Reed and Ez ever want to talk when I'm awake and we're driving 30 minutes into town. There's nothing going on. I got home last night, got into bed later. It was like 10:30, 11, and Reed comes out of bed, hops in bed, and he goes, "Oh, Dad," and I was like,
right now, you're
like, "What's up?
Getting up in 5 hours, buddy.
What's up?" And he's talking. I'm like, "All right, cool, we'll do it." But like that's hard to do, especially when you're young. You realize it doesn't. I don't matter anymore. It's what it starts off. It's like a martyr. Like, woe is me, burnt toast. But then you figure out, no, this is life. This is love. This is good. And then you start to seek it. But I guess one thing that I'm trying to pull out of us and we're missing is, for us, we have to stop doing extra things sometimes to have people over. Like, legitimately, we have too many things going on.
Yeah.
And I'll see my own house 30 minutes a night, and I'm like, how the heck am I supposed to have people over? So there's seasons where I'm like, Reed, you're not doing sports. We're going to go home. You're going to skip jiu-jitsu this afternoon because we haven't been home all week. And then you can't have people over if your house isn't, like, within reason. Like, if your house is a train wreck and the dirty dishes and there's laundry everywhere, like, you have to maintain your thing to a certain extent. That doesn't mean it has to be perfect, but there's a balance.
You have to build a culture that you could bring people into.
Exactly.
It doesn't have to be sterile and clean and perfect.
But it
has to function like a family.
We've had to cut things out.
Yeah.
So we could have time.
Yeah. That's good. The last couple of nights, my girls have pitched in and they've just been cooking dinner for Mom. They're right at the age to where if we need to run out for an hour, the two oldest can stay home and they'll cook dinner and prep and that kind of thing. But they're feeding into that same hospitable family culture that we're wanting to build and develop, right? And so, if you're at home, your kids learn how to do the dishes and take out the trash and make a meal and be friendly and play games. And they learn to take what they have, their kingdom that they have, and make it a place to where others can step in and enjoy. That's good.
That's good.
Yeah.
I think part of it also, a big part of it, starts with your wife. I think the four of us are at least blessed with having wives who enjoy hosting, enjoy having people over. And I think part of it goes back to what we were talking about in the beginning with that introvert extrovert thing. Like, in Christ, you don't get to just pick one and hang out there all the time. Like, you have to go and do, the Great Commission is an extroverted thing. Yeah. But also prayer is introverted a lot of times, So like, the reality of the Christian life is those categories are dissolved and you're just a Christian. You're just trying to become like Jesus. And so if your wife is against this, you talk to her and you go, I think we should really be having people over more. There might be some damage in her life that would make her not want to do that, right? She might just be spiritually immature in some ways and hasn't recognized that dichotomy of the introvert extrovert thing. Like, I just want to be at home with cats and Harry Potter. And you're like, well, you got to change. If Jesus was like you, we'd all be going to hell,
You got to change.
But,
you mean cats and Harry
Potter. The other side of it is a lot of times, and I know this was true in my own life, my wife's hospitality level went down drastically when I wasn't walking with the Lord like I should. So your wife is a reflection of you, because if you two are one flesh, she's a good gauge of how you're doing. If she's not doing well, don't get mad at her. Look at yourself, because If y'all really are one flesh, like the Bible says,
She's
then
like a
you
mirror.
should be moving together. And so if she's like, I don't want to have people over, if she's stressed, if the house is a wreck, if she's just not wanting to do that ever, you need to realize it's because you, in some ways, are letting her down. And she's ashamed of people seeing what you all have right now. And that's the reality of it. That's just the truth. You can build it and your house will, those doll houses where it's like,
Half
you
a
open it
house.
up and you see like the rooms and everything. I remember like when I was kind of in the depth of my sin and not walking with the Lord. I remember one day pulling up to my house and looking at it, and downstairs was where sometimes I would sneak booze or something like that. And I just had this kind of vision of the house with no exterior wall and like closets filled with crap. And like the downstairs with like my sin hiding, and then a living room that was pristine. And it was like, okay, we're kind of constructing this dollhouse that makes it look like life is good, that my wife is trying to walk this tightrope of, let's try to hold up this standard that's not really true, so that when we have people over, they don't realize how not good we're doing, right?
Yeah,
and you have to tear all that down. And part of it is, as a man, recognizing I'm fumbling the ball, and my wife doesn't want to have people over because there's nothing to have them over to, because I'm not creating that culture, right?
So it's a
I'm
facade.
letting
Your house is a representation of the love you two
your
have.
inside, yeah.
And if the love you two have is garbage, then your house, even if it looks great, it doesn't feel like love at home.
And or you could go to someone's house and they're like, we moved some underwear off the floor, but this is about as good as it gets. And you feel like, oh man, there's love in this. Like this is a home. This isn't just a house. This is a home. Like, it's real. And I think there's a level where a lot of men will probably listen to this podcast and go, well, my wife just doesn't want to do it. Sorry. I guess I'm not going to be able to check that box, but I think that should lead you to a little bit of introspection and go to the Lord and say, how am I starving her? How am I not feeding my wife properly? And she's emaciated. She's starving to death for spiritual realities. And she doesn't have those. And so then the physical overflow of someone who's full spiritually is hospitality. And so if your family is there's a dearth there of those physical realities, it's because there's malnutrition spiritually. And so you need to go feed your family before you can go feed others,
That's good. All right. So, gentlemen, this is first about you. Get your house in order. Get yourself in order. Deal with your own sin. Deal with your own shame. Right? That's what Justin's talking about. Find those areas in your house to where this is not clean and pure. People should be able to walk through every room of your soul in that regard. And that's when you're at a place where you can truly be hospitable, when all of you is available to somebody, right? And then secondly, that would produce a wife that is filled with love and contentment and joy and compassion and sacrifice, and be able to pour out for others. Fair? Yeah. And if you're not married, gentlemen, this starts with you and whatever possessions you have. That's your car. Keep it clean. Keep it nice to where if somebody knocked on the passenger door, you're not scrambling to throw the McDonald's wrappers away and chuck the cups out the car window. Like, you want to take the things that God has given you and care for them in such a way to where anyone could step in at any point, and you're not hiding or ashamed or quickly scrambling to clean up shop. Is that fair? Yeah. Right? Even the hobbies that you have, because I've known you long enough, the hobbies you have, they're a means and a leverage to enjoy other people. They really are in your life.
It's all of them I love to do with everybody.
Exactly.
So, I can do it alone, but my preference would be to have people with me.
Right.
So it's good. That's good. That's a good point.
All right, gentlemen. Well, thanks for listening to the Kavod Family Podcast. Get out of here. Go be hospitable. Adios.